Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We have Tejas today who will walk us through the search processing languages, that is SPL basics for Splunk. This is one of the topics that we get a lot of requests from as an admin from end users that hey, can we have some sessions where we understand the basics of Splunk and SPL and so on. So in today's session, as a part of this series, we'll go through the SPL basics, and feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions or so. Awesome. Tejas, I'll leave it up to you.
Sure. Um, Hello all, good afternoon, and I'll be starting with the introduction to search processing language. I think in the previous session, you already went through uh, the architecture basics of introduction to Splunk. Um, Now, once you have your architecture set up, once you have your data ingested in it, how to get meaningful insights out of it, how you want to search the data, that's what we will be covering through this particular session. I'll share my screen. So let's start with the basics. So in this session, we will not be covering towards the advanced and complex search functions, but we'll go through how you write this search. So what we will be covering is anatomy of a Splunk search, what would be the basic syntax that you would want to look for once you ingest the data, what all operators you can use, what are the few SPL commands that you can use in your day-to-day operations, day-to-day activities whenever you want to get some insights. What are the type modifiers and what can be the best practices or hands-on lab as well. So uh, covering through the anatomy of a search. Basically, I'll show you. I have an environment also ready with me. I'll show you how the search interface looks like if you have not already gone through it. Um, so, is my screen visible? Are you able to see the search window? If anyone can just unmute. All right. So this is I have used Splunk 10 right now in my environment, which comes inbuilt with Splunk Assistant AI, and so this is basically the search and reporting app. That's the most commonly and most widely used application that Splunk ships with. So it has few navigation menu already set. That's search. When you click on search, it opens up this window. Then you have some analytics. This gets created on the basis of what you already ingest. You have some data sets if you want to define the reports that you might have created. Reports would be the knowledge objects and the saved searches that you might have created within the app context, or if they have the permission to be visible within the search app. So those reports would be present. Then the next would be alerts and dashboards and different modules if you can go through those. So when it comes to searching, this is the main window where you want to search the data. Your search head is where you would be running the searches. It's usually best practice to have separate searchers and indexers, to have separated search tier and indexing tier. So the search tier that is searched, this is the search that I have within my environment, and it's connected via distributed search. So this would be the search bar where we would be writing basically different searches, and all the searches should bare minimum have three main components. What we call as index, source type, And on top of it, if you want to add one more meta filter, that's called as host. So index, source, source type, and host are the metadata fields. Out of it, host, source, and source type are metadata. Index is where you ingest the data. So that would be the main Splunk bar, search bar that we see. The next would be time picker. So how how long you want to search the data, or how old is the data that you want to search. Let's say I've got some data that I ingested a couple of days ago, uh, and I don't remember how long it was. Then you can basically go through the navigation or the time picker. Uh, Here you get multiple preset options. If you want to run real-time searches, they do require additional capabilities to be able to run real-time search. But if you have those capabilities, you can select a real-time search. That's quite resource intensive, so it's not usually preferred to run, but it depends on use cases. If you have to run real-time use cases, you can select a couple of options from here. Apart from it, you get by default preset option for relative time range. If you want to search the data that you ingested today, if you want to search the data that was ingested from the last week to today's date, business week to date, month to date, and all of these different options, the last 15 minutes, last 60 minutes, these are all presets. Apart from the presets, you also get an option to choose for relative time, and you get a differentiator for seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, quarters, and years ago. So I can basically do simple as 2 years ago as the earliest time that I want to search for the data, and the latest can be now or first day of this year, whatever you want to choose. So, and it also gives you a preview of what it's going to set as the earliest and latest value. So, before hitting the apply, you can validate those timings as well. Apart from relative, you have got options for real-time searches as well. So, in the presets, if you are not satisfied with the presetted real-time options, then you do have an option to search for real-time earliest and the earliest value of how frequent you want to have the real-time data, that the search query that you run would go back and continuously find for the new events that are getting ingested. uh, Sometimes you don't know for a particular time range what you want to search for. You don't remember the date, but let's say you have got different options as to I've got a range in my mind that I ingested some data on between 23rd and 27th. Maybe I ingested some data between 24th and 25th, but I'm not sure. I can provide a range of dates for what I want to select or for what I want to search the data. So that would be date range. And apart from between, I want to search anything that was ingested before a particular date. So that that goes for before. And since I want to search for anything that was ingested after 9th of March, you can go for that option as well. Apart from date range, if you want to isolate for a particular timestamp itself, along with the date, that on this date I want to investigate a few logs that were ingested on 26th of March between 9 a.m. to 9:38 a.m., or any of the time that I want to specify. You are already given the format how you want to specify the time, so that can also be done uh, using the date and time range options, and the same would be supported for before and since, including the timestamp if you want some precision in the timestamp that you want to search the logs for or search the events for. And apart from it, you have got an advanced option that would be the time modifier notations. I think that we will be covering in the later part of the session today. Apart from it, we have got in the anatomy itself, we have got event viewer, field sidebar, statistics tab, and visualizations tab. So what we will be doing is, let me just run index equals to underscore internal source style equals to Splunk source equals to Splunk.log, and I want to have it for last 15 minutes. So when we run this, we have got all the events. So here we can differentiate the whole search window into different parts. So this is the event viewer where you can see all the events. Here you have got the timeline. With for the last 15 minutes, the whole range or the whole panel is divided into different minutes, and the green bar shows you how many events were ingested at that particular minute. And if you want to pick on any one of it, you can just click on it, and it will show you the events for that particular minute, that is from 9:38 to 9:39. There were around 32 events that got ingested into the internal index, and you can basically click on deselect and go back to whatever your search output was. So this is called the event viewer. On the left hand side, what you see over here is the fields bar, uh, where you are displayed with all the fields that are part of the events, where on which you can apply different filters to isolate a particular event that you want to look for, or you want to investigate more, or you want to troubleshoot more, or you want to understand what a particular event is trying to convey. So based on the fields, you can also apply the filtering in the search query itself. So by default, host, source, and source type, as we mentioned earlier, these would be the metadata fields. So they would by default be part of the selected fields. On top of this, uh, you can also nominate, or you can also choose different fields that you want to be kept as a selected ones by default whenever you run index equals to internal, and you want to search for a particular field uh, that should be selected. Then you can click on that particular field, let's say component, and I can choose selected over here. So by default that would be present on the top, and it will be highlighted uh, below the event as well, whatever the value of that particular field is. So here local proxy handler is the component, so that gets added. Same applies for the next event. The session manager is the component. So that's how the search bar works. On top of this, only a couple of fields will be present on the left hand side. There might be other fields as well that might not get automatically extracted, or if they have very less presence, almost around um, 1% or 2% of the events, they would not be directly listed over here, because Splunk will automatically try to consider it as not quite significant, since it's not present in all of the events. And if you want to particularly look for that, you can go to the fields option, and uh, you can type the name of the field whatever you want, and you can select, or you can add a filter as to how many events that you are looking for. It should be all fields, or the fields that are present in 1% of the events or more, the fields that are present in 50% events or more. Or if you want to, if you have a use case to just check how many fields are there that are present in 100% of the events there. So if I pick up any of the event in the search query that I've written, this is the list of fields that will be definitely present in all of them. Uh, the value may vary, but that's still okay. So that's about the fields sidebar. Now the statistics tab. So if you have any questions about it, I'll just get back to you in a minute. Apart from it, you have got different options over here. So the events tab, you see, that would be the event viewer. You can click on patterns. It will automatically identify what different type of patterns are available in the search query that you have written, and it will show you. So there are almost around 19% of the events that are showing status score equals to 200 for a particular API call that was hit on OP AMP on the local host itself. So estimated event count is 64, and uh, so tenant is basically the keyword over here. So that is based on the patterns. Apart from it, you can get statistics. So when you In the further part of the session, when we cover the different types of commands, I'll show you if you add different statistical commands, then those would be present over here in these statistics. So I've got supercharged searcher and supercharged indexer as the two different hosts. So statistics is where you can see the statistical representation of the search query that you have written. And when it comes to visualization, you can define different visuals, like if you want to have the presentation in a line chart, bar chart, whatever you want, based on the different values, a graphical presentation can be made. And it's not only graphical, you can select different visualizations that may be applicable to your data. And when you hover over each of these, it even shows you what kind of command can be used. So let's say, for example, if I keep my mouse over pie chart, it shows you the stats count by comparison category as a search fragment. So that's generally preferable when you are using. So pie chart, when you want to use, you need to make sure that your data is presenting a statistical data, or you are having the statistical presentation. In that case, having a pie chart can be beneficial, but then you have to look at it if it satisfies your use case or not. So that was about it. Do you have any questions still here? I see Pramod uh, asking what is index, source type, and hosting detail. Okay, all right. So Pramod, whatever data that you bring in, that you store it. So index is the place where you store the data that you ingest into Splunk. Uh, so that's the definition of an index. Source type is you want to categorize your data into a particular format. So let's say if I remove this particular filter, uh, let's remove it. Okay, so in the internal index, so internal any indexes that starts with underscore, those are considered as the internal indexes. And that's where Splunk stores its own logs, all the processes that Splunk is running, all the functions that Splunk is performing. All of those logs are stored into the internal index. Now, in the internal index, I am getting multiple events, and I want to categorize them into what each event signifies. So let's say Splunk is performing, or whenever a particular task is being performed, Splunk D is the Splunk daemon that gets accessed. So Splunk D access are the logs which I want to categorize as whatever operations that are being made considering Splunk daemon itself, and what API call was made, what was its status, and stuff like that. I want to categorize it as Splunk D. I want to categorize it with some name. So that way, if I want to categorize my events into different possibilities or different chunks, that's how you can define a source type. One source type will have one pattern of logs. If you want, one index can have multiple source types, but having one source type for multiple indexes, that can be uh, beneficial and non-beneficial both. But to sum it all, I would say source type is basically how you define your events, how you define your logs, what they actually present. So that's about source type. And sources, from where your data was originated, from where your data was collected, what was the location of the data that you ingested in Splunk. So if I do stats count by source, so it will say that var opt splunk edge var log h.log. So this was the file from which events were ingested into the internal index. Now same applies to license usage.log, stuff like that. And when it comes to host is where I am from which particular host I collected the file, I collected the data and ingested it into the Splunk. Does that answer you? Yeah, probably a table in Oracle DB. So uh, I'll, I'll now be back to Splunk search interface. So any questions till now for in the anatomy of the search window? Perfect. So the next would be the core SPL syntax, what we want to write, because it's not. It is definitely possible that you can write some random keywords, what you want to search for, and then you can get events on the basis of it. But there has to be some syntax, and there has to be some best practices that we need to follow. What all steps you have to make sure. So that's what we will be discussing going forwards. So if you have saw or if you had observed earlier, I wrote this query like this. Just remove it. So by default, each and every query should start with index, source, and source type. There is a possibility that you are deployed to a vast environment where you might not know what all sources and what all source type you want to search for. In that situation, what you can do is you can use a wildcard, but it's definitely a good practice to start with writing the most basic things that you want to have uh, that you want to have present in your events or what you want to look for. So in every possible situation, at least try to use index, source, and source type in the search query that you want. On top of it, you can then add the filters. Like, let's say you want to search for let me show you on the basis of events. Let's say you want to search for all the events that are having auto load balanced connection strategy as the component. In that way, in that case, what you will be doing is you'll be writing the key value, that is the component is the key, and auto load balance connection strategy is the value. Each field will be represented by its key and value. Key would be the left hand side and value would be the right hand side of it. So component auto load balance connection strategy, if I write this and hit enter, it will bring me all the events that are having component as auto load balance connection strategy. Now whenever I have some use cases, I would want to look at what what happened. Did it connect successfully to the host that it was meant to or not, and stuff like that. So next, after index, source, and source type, uh, the next thing that you would want to add is the filter that you want to list down. And then you can use different set of commands like stats, or I'll also list down some commands first for you. Um, so make results, then you have eval, then you have stats, then you have sort, you have fields, table. So these are the different commands that are supported in Splunk. Make results is it's basically the value of having a dry run. If you understand it, you want to just analyze what happens when you write some query. So in that case, you can do make results. Whatever you write after make results is not the actual data, but that's a dummy. You are creating the events on your own. You don't have any events ingested, but you are creating your events on your own. So that would be make results. Apart from it, then you have eval is a short for evaluation. So eval is something that, well, whatever field you want to create or you want to perform some operations on it, there goes the eval. So the next would be stats. Stats is a short for statistical operations that you want to perform. There are different functions that you can use along with stats, like minimum, maximum. All the arithmetic and logical operations can be done. Minimum, maximum. You can use earliest, latest. You can also find the P90 value of it. So that's with the statistics. If you want to sort the results after you have done the statistics, you can use the sort command. And sort does not necessarily mean for numeric value. It can also be applicable for alphabets as well. So it will sort the data into alphabetical order if it's the strings that you want to sort, and if it's the numbers. If you use sort without any aggregates, then it will sort the data into ascending order. If you want to sort the data into descending order, you have to use a hyphen, that is minus sign represented. So that would be sorting the whole data or whole search results into descending order. You can use the fields command to restrict your search results into specified number of fields. So for fields, I can give you an example. Let's do index equals to underscore internal, source equals to Splunk log, source equals to Splunk, and I want to have fields host underscore time component uh, log level. So So when I define the fields, my whole field bar would be restricted with the fields that I have defined. Component, host, log level, and underscore time is the timestamp. That's not present separately, but it's a meta field. So that's how you will be looking at a particular event. So that's related to the fields command. And if I, apart from fields, I had mentioned table earlier. If I do table, it will give you a statistical presentation of each and every event. So if and it will be present in the same order that you have defined. So host is the first, underscore time, the timestamp when a particular event was logged, component, and the level of it. So when it comes back to syntax, you have to use the index, source, and source types first. The next thing that I want to uh, share over here is pipe is the main conjunction for different operations that you want to perform. So whatever the output of this line would be, it would be passed as the input for the next line that you write. So the output of table command would be the input for sort command. So if I do here sort underscore time, right now if you can see that all the data is in descending order. 27th of March, 10 to 17 seconds, 16 second, 8 second. When I do sort underscore time, it will start from 27th of March, 9:48 as the earliest because the time range is last 15 minutes. So 9:48, and then it will go on increasing in timestamp. So the output of this works as input of this, and whatever the output of the last command would be, that's what will be presented in the results window. So whenever you want to combine different operations or you want to perform a step-to-step transformation, you need to make sure that you use a pipe conjunction for all of it between the different operations that you want to perform. On top of this, Splunk also supports different operators like logical operations of and or. So let's say you want to have a list of events visible which can either have log level of warning or error. So what I'll be doing is I can write log level equals warn or log level equals error, and I can combine them within the parentheses as well. And when I run this, it will give you 72 events, and all of them will be part of either error log or warning log. And here you can also see 36 events are there with error as log level and 36 events with warning as log level. It will show you the contribution as well, how much percent it is out of the number of events that are there. So right now log level, you can see it's present in 100% of the events, and out of this 100%, 50% is error and 50% is warning. So that's how you can check further for whatever investigation you might want. So that's related to and or operations. Any questions here? Okay, I'll move further then. So for search pipeline, this was the basic syntax and what can be used, what not. I forgot to mention earlier, we can use wildcards. If you had seen earlier, I used wildcard along with source. Uh, but you need to be sure where you are using the wildcard. If you are using in between, then it can be resource intensive for Splunk, because how this is interpreted is whenever you run a search query, the search head communicates to the indexer where your data is stored on the indexer. So search head will run to the indexer. It will look for the index which is called underscore internal, and in there first it will check if your search query has specified any source or not. So from the indexer it will try to get all the list of sources that are matching splunk.log, and maybe there can be something else before splunk.log. So it will try to prepare a list of all of it and then apply a filter of source type as well. Now what happens if you write splunk, or if you define an asterisk in between, what happens is it will the definition or the interpretation of source field at indexer end, it can be intensive because it will have to recursively match and filter out all the sources that are matching this particular regex pattern. So whenever you write a wildcard, the interpretation will be equivalent to interpreting a regex. You need to be very sure of how you want to write or use wildcards, but using wildcards is supported in any of the fields as well. Now when you say using fields, if I don't know what field a particular value that I'm looking for is present into, then I can simply write the keyword TCP channel thread. If I am writing TCP channel thread, simply it will bring all the events that are having TCP channel thread directly, but it should be okay. So all the events that are having TCP channel thread as a keyword, they will be returned. But if you already know that TCP channel thread is a field, and it's a value to a field called component, and when you supply that particular field itself, that in that situation it can be quite easier and simpler for Splunk to get those events to you. Moving forward, the essential Splunk commands. So what we will be seeing it for is sure, promote the recording of the session will be shared. Uh, Basically, the commands that that are must or that are quite handy for whenever you want to search for something. They are fields, rename, table, sort, head and tail, deduct, and eval. So fields command, as I showed earlier, you want to restrict your search query to particular set of fields. You can write the fields command and then subsequently provide all the list of fields in a comma separated value or a space separated value format, uh, and it will get you all the fields that you want uh, within the events. Rename command. Now, sometimes you are ingesting data from different sources. One value might be present as a different field into the different index or from the different source. In that situation, you want to have a common understanding of how the field should be presented. Or let's say I am not in a mood and I don't like the field component. I want it to be presented as I want to be presented as comp itself. Rename field can be used. The syntax for rename is quite simple. Use the pipe rename command, then the name of the field that you want to rename as, and whatever the new name that you want. So if you check over here, I'll rename component as pop. So here you see component got updated to comp as the name of the field. So that's how rename command is used. The next command would be table. Table is what we already saw. Uh, if I want the data to be presented in tabular format, post component underscore time log level. So table command. So now one more thing. If you see over here, I have used rename to change component as comp. Now later on, if I am using component again, it will not return any results because I have renamed the field previously. So now onwards, if I want the value to be presented in the tabular format, I must use the new field name uh, that I renamed it to. So here you can see the values getting populated in the comp field. Then we have sort. Sort command is also again something that we discussed. We want to sort the data into ascending or descending order. Uh, right now, I'll be sorting on the basis of component field because I want it to be present in alphanumerical. I want to sort my table into alphabetical order. So alphabetical order of component as well. It's very necessary to understand how you want to transform your table or how you want to present the data into which order and on the basis of which particular field. So here I am doing a sort operation on the component field, and all of the uh, relevant field values will be updated on the basis of component only. The next we have head and tail. uh, what head does is, head is the as simple as providing first n number of results, or if you want to go for tail, it gives you the last n number of results. So if I want to do head on uh, uh, let's say I want to do head 10, it will give me after sorting first 10 values basically. So even By default, if I don't specify any number, it will go for returning first. I think it was 20 if I'm not wrong, but uh, yeah, it returns these 10 records after sorting operation. And the same applies to tail. The last 10 options, if you can see, uh, the after sorting the components, the most recent data would be visible over here. And on the contrary, if I use head, you'll be seeing the 1014. Oh, yes, that's because we have done a sorting on component and not the timestamp. Then we have dedup. Dedup will be removing duplicate values that you might have. Uh, let's say here on the screen itself, you are seeing different timestamp, but the same host, same component, and you don't want that to happen. Same data being presented multiple times. In that case, you can do a dedup operation. uh, Dedup is short for deduplication. It removes the duplicated value for whatever fields that you define. So let's say I want to dedup the component itself. It will give you one the first event that it encountered after the sorting based on the timestamp, and it will return only that particular result. So that's dedup. And the next is eval. uh, Eval, as we discussed earlier, we can be using it for different arithmetic operations. I want to create a new field. In that situation, also I'll be using eval. So let's say eval new field equals. Now here I can define operations. I can define string. I can define uh, conditions as well. So uh, all of those operations can be done using eval. So let's say right now I'm writing a new field as Ahmedabad user session. So that will be added as a new field, and its value would be Ahmedabad user group session. Now I can do multiple eval operations as well, uh, and multiple eval operations along with creating multiple fields. New field two would be I want to uh, I want to have the current timestamp being added to new field. So new field 2 will be created, and this is the current timestamp. It's in epoch format. By default, Splunk understands all the timestamp into epoch format. If you want to present it into a different uh, visualizable format, you can use different time modifiers. I'll be coming towards it in some time. So that was about the basic understanding of different fields. Any questions in the different commands that you want to understand, or are there any other commands that you might have heard of and you want to learn more about it? All right, I'll take that as a no. So next coming is time modifiers. So for time modifiers, I'll be showing how we can use. There is one very good documentation. Uh, I'll share it right now in chat itself. Yeah. This is whenever you get a time, have a good read at it. It is date and time format variables that are supported by Splunk. So what these time modifiers present? if you know, or if you try to remember, we had this advanced section in the uh, time time range picker. Right now, last 15 minutes is being represented as minus 15 minutes and now. So that's how the time modifiers work. If I, however, I want to define my earliest and latest values, so that is dependent on it. Uh, so different time modifiers would be R, H stands for R, M stands for minutes, S stands for seconds, uh, month stands for MON. Uh, for week, you can use W. For year, you can use Y. So these are the simple notations at first that you will be utilizing. Now consider using these as earliest and latest values. So instead of experimenting over here, I think it's better to show you in the advanced section. Now let's say I want to search for a data that was 1 hour ago. So I'll just write -1h. So here you can confirm -1 hour would be applicable to 9:20:54. I think that's because my server is in UTC. Let me change the time zone. Okay, now it's back to 15:51. So for easy understanding, if I'm using -1h, that will literally go back to 1 hour ago from the current time. So if my current time is 3:51, it will go back to 2:51:29 directly. Now, what happens if you want to search for the 2 o'clock directly? If you do -1h at h, so this stands for R, and this stands for how many minutes after the first offset. So the first offset was at 1 hour, and then you want its starting point, then it would be 2:30. Yeah, it would be, why it doesn't go for 2:30 p.m. And when you go for minute, it will be going at 2:52 exactly, at -1 hour. uh, I don't understand this right now. Ideally, it should go at 2 o'clock directly. And you can also use different modifiers, like days. If I want to search for yesterday, you can see here my date got changed, and the same can be applied to latest as well. For latest, you can start with -1 day at so here your day started at 26th of March, 12 o'clock in the night, and my latest would be yesterday, but at the current hour, that is 3:30. Any questions over here? So here you can do different experiments for different time modifiers and whatever you want to search for in terms of timestamp. So that goes for date and hour. Okay, I'll take that as no question. I'll also want to address one more thing. Remember, we discussed date and time format variables. Now, this is into epoch format. Now, I want to convert it to a readable format. So, what we can do is we can do eval again on the same field or a new field that whatever you want to wish. Eval new field 2 equals strf time. This is a function that is used to format the time. What it will do is it will collect the data into epoch format and convert it into whatever format you provide. %f and %t, that's the same format as the underscore time. So you can see the values getting converted automatically. Previously you were seeing some numbers, now it got converted to different values. You can use different variables in place of %f and %t. You want to have the data being presented as dt, and then you want to have a forward slash, uh, so date month year, and then our minute seconds. You don't want the subsequence as well, so in that case your subsequence will be removed and your date will be presented in whatever format you provide. And the same is also possible into a reverse section, eval time in epoch. uh, what you can do is you can use strip time function. It collects the data into readable format and converts it into epoch format. Um, you have to just understand how to use a function. So what it does is it goes to read the new field 2, and it is present in this particular format, and it will convert the data into string itself, into the numbers. And here you can see it gives 00 as subsequence because here we have removed it. Otherwise by default, 3 microseconds are provided, uh, as by default. But since you have removed the microseconds from here, by default it will consider it as 0. So how strf time works is it has to collect the data into from the epoch timestamp, and it will print the data in whatever format you provide. And strp time works as it collects the data into whatever format you have. You provide it you provide the format, that it's being written in this format, and then it will convert it into epoch format. So both of these conversions can also be done, but mostly time modifiers are used for these operations. D at d, if I want to search for 1 week, then you can go for -1 week as well, and it will go back to 20th of March, and then search for yesterday's data. Always remember your earliest cannot be more than the latest. So if I provide -15 minutes also, it will throw you when you click on apply, it will show you that earliest time cannot be greater than latest time, because that's how it will be applying filtering between the logs. So the first log would be from the earliest and the last log would be from the latest, but you cannot interchange it. Any questions in the timestamp modifier, or how to use different variables for it? Okay, so I think that's about today's session. We learned how we can use different operations with the pipelines. We can use different operators and not. We looked at different fields or different commands. That is fields, rename, table sort, head, tail, eval, data, even stats. Uh, Best practices would be for efficient performance to include index and source type and source and maximum filters that you can use. And then at the last, we looked at the time modifiers with earliest and latest and relative and absolute values. So that was about today's session, learning how to write searches at the basics. Uh, Let me know if there's anything else that you have that you want to ask or you have questions. I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, I think we can call it for today. We have a next session on on the next Friday where we will be discussing fields, lookups, and different knowledge objects. There will be another expert joining in and helping with understanding the basics of fields and knowledge objects, what they are, and what they represent. See you next Friday. Thank you all for joining.